Garinger High School. Since 1959, tens of thousands of students have graduated from this East Charlotte landmark. Some have moved on, and some stay involved as educators, advocates, and volunteers. These Wildcats are here to share the history of Garinger High and what it was like to go there. The history of Garinger High actually dates back to 1909 and a building at 9th and Brevard Streets. It came to be called Charlotte High, the city's first high school for white students. In 1920, it moved to Moorhead Street, named for former Superintendent Alexander Graham. Superintendent Harry Harding hired a young educator from Missouri named Elmer Garinger as its principal in 1921. The new Central High School opened in 1923, at where Central Piedmont Community College now sits. Elmer Garinger was its principal until 1945, when he left to lead the growing Charlotte City school system. The city and county systems merged in 1959. Superintendent Garinger hired prominent architect A.G. Odell to design a modern 64-acre campus on an old dairy farm in East Charlotte. In the fall of 1959, Central High School's students, teachers, and traditions moved to the brand new Garinger High.
We weren't excited about it at all because Central was a tradition. You know, I lived across the street from Central, right across from the gymnasium, and grew up seeing Central and the cheerleaders and the basketball team and the football team and that kind of thing, looking forward to getting to go to Central, to walk to school every day, you know, that kind of thing, and then got to go there one year. And people thought we were crazy not to be excited about a new school. And you know, we were in some respects, but, you know, it's hard to give up things that you've been excited about, you know, before. There was no bus transportation, so my dad bought me a car and said, I'll buy you the car, but you have to put the gas in it. So I got 3 riders that wanted transportation, and they, you know, paid for the gas. And so we drove to Garinger.
We didn't actually have school buses that drove within the city, but we used city buses. A bus ride was a dime to get to school or from school. A lot of times it was about a 3-mile walk, but I'd walk home.
Well, they were more modern, more unique, and spread out more. Central was one building, and everything was up and down steps and that kind of thing, you know, so we were going up and down the steps. At Garinger, everything was spread out.
It was a huge campus. It was, you know, trying to figure out where stuff was, because sometimes you had to be at school at classes on time, and you had to rush sometimes because you didn't know where you were going.
When we were there, the library was a very special place because that's the big round building that's been in some of the architectural magazines and all that sort of stuff. It was one of the first of its kind back during that era. So that was always cool, just going in a round library that had different levels and a little pit in the middle where we used to sit and study and kind of hang out and, you know, chit-chat and everything. And then before they built what is now the media center, that was all open space. So we were able to sit on the steps right there just outside the cafeteria. And it was just kind of a nice big open area where we used to just hang out and have a good time.
But I miss the library like it was, because there was nothing else like it. And actually, one of the years, somebody put a pumpkin on top of the library. And I don't know who did it. I think I know who did it, but I'm not going to give any names because I don't want to get in trouble if it's not them. But some guys went up there one night and put a pumpkin on top of the library. They got caught, by the way. They broke some stuff on the library getting it up there, but it wasn't major stuff. But they got it up, and it was a huge pumpkin. And then a few years later, somebody put a chair up there. The big thing at Garinger was the senior pit. Okay, the senior pit, back in our day, it's an area designed strictly for seniors where they had tables and chairs, and they had a jukebox. And so only the seniors could sit there. So, because if you were a sophomore or junior and you tried to go down there, they'd flip you out. But once you got to be a senior and you got to go down there, it was like, yeah. That and getting your class ring. That was the thing. And the yearbooks, of course.
Old traditions remained, like the Rambler newspaper, the Snips and Cuts yearbook, the Willow Tree, and home football games at Memorial Stadium near the old Central campus. The new Garinger team won the 1959 state championship.
It's nice that a lot of the schools have their own stadiums, but there's nothing like going to a football game at Memorial Stadium. The crowds were electric. The participation was awesome, and everybody, you could tell it was, you'd get goosebumps because it was so much fun. Cheerleaders would be up on the walls, and then we do cheering and stuff and everything, and it was great, and I wish they still had stuff like that.
I guess our biggest rivalry was with Myers Park back in those days. There was East. Because I knew students, I went to East. Myers Park was the rich kids, and Garinger weren't so much rich generally. Charlotte Country Club. So some of those houses are pretty decent. Then you had the kids from North Charlotte who lived in mill houses. So Garinger's student body would be quite diverse.
I was a disc jockey on our local radio station, the Garinger Wildcat Hour. And we would broadcast at WIST and WGIB, and my name was Jury J, and it was like Jury J bringing the hits your way on the Garinger Wildcat Hour. And I got to interview the head quarterback at Myers Park at his house, and I talked to him, and he shared things about the school and each one, and about the rivalry. But when I ended, I said, "We're gonna beat you," and we did.
We had such good business teachers at Garinger that we were just kind of head and shoulders above a lot of other schools when we started out.
Well, we had Fleckta Reinhardt. She had been in the Navy during World War II. If somebody was holding hands or down the hall with her girlfriend, she'd be running out in the hall saying, "Get your hands off of her." If you did a book report, she insisted that it only be on half a page, and if it wasn't, you would be in her room writing it over and over and over until it finally suited her that you had explained the book in just a half page of notebook paper. And then it was Mr. Parker, who used to throw erasers if you weren't paying attention. He taught mathematics.
I know Nan Abel she probably had 45 years in. Miss Travis was there for a long time. She was an English teacher. A lot of the coaches stayed, beyond their time frame. It was just, they enjoyed their job. It was more than just a job to them.
This was Janet Robinson. She was the Bible teacher. I always told people if there was ever an angel on earth, it was her, because you could be having the worst day ever, and you walked into her class, and everything was gone. When she spoke, you could hear the Lord in her voice. It was just wonderful.
Three years after the Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court decision of 1954, Charlotte City Schools began the slow process of desegregation. Elmer Garinger arranged for Dolores Maxine Huntley to attend Alexander Graham Junior High, Gervaud Roberts to Piedmont Junior High, Gervaud's brother Gus to attend Central High, and Dorothy Counts to Harding High. Counts endured taunting, threats, racial slurs, and thrown objects during her 3 days at Harding High School. Gus Roberts' experience at Central High was less publicized. Jeering crowds gathered in front of Central the first few days and blocked the doorway. Principal Ed Sanders diffused the situation, and Roberts became the first African American to graduate from a white school in Charlotte, though the prom was held off campus and Roberts was not invited. When Garinger opened in 1959, Dolores Waterman was the only African American student attending a white school in Charlotte. Garinger integrated slowly through the 1960s, and Sanders hired its first black teacher in 1965. Brummett B.B. Delane, who had helped organize lunch counter sit-ins in Charlotte while a student at Johnson C. Smith University, was the new driver's education teacher. Delane's father, J.A. Delane, filed a school segregation lawsuit in Clarendon, South Carolina that was later folded into the Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court case. Another court case sparked comprehensive desegregation in CMS. The landmark Swan versus Charlotte-Mecklenburg Board of Education decision mandated racial balance in CMS schools, with busing as its main strategy starting in 1970.
They began to accept it after a while, but it took, that first year was really tough. Yeah, it was tough. So I worked from 8 to 12, and we had 3 lunches, and everything happened at the last lunch, which was at 12:30. So normally I was gone by the time that happened, but I heard from the other staff. Those students had not been exposed to that. They had been exposed to some of the integration, but not the busing, and they sort of felt like they were having it crammed down their throats, I think is what they said. And so kids would get up on the tables in the cafeteria, take off their belts, and swing them around like, come hither, and there were lots and lots of physical altercations during that last lunch period every day. Bill Ross and Tom Asbury, they were very good administrators. They were very hands-on with the kids and all. Tom was black, Bill was white. So they were just really good with the kids, and the kids liked them. And I think they began to understand a little bit. I mean, Tom would say, I understand where you're coming from, I've been there, done that, And then Bill would he was the bus coordinator, but we had a lot of the senior guys. That's when students could drive buses. And so we had a lot of the senior guys that were driving buses. And so Bill sort of talked with them, tried to get them to be the leaders to get some of these things straightened out. And I think that, of course, the kids did a lot of that too.
I grew up in the McCrory Heights neighborhood, which is just off of Beatty's Ford Road, next to the waterworks, very close to Johnson C. Smith. So I went to McClintock Junior High School when I was 12, my 7th grade year. Of course, bused all the way out. That was the first year of desegregation. Okay. Bused all the way out to Raymond Road, I guess, about 10 miles from where we were. So that was an early morning bus rides all the way out, again, 10 miles away from where I would have gone to school. And then 8th grade year, they shuffled the districts or whatnot, and I ended up going to Hawthorne, which is how we got closer to Garinger. So, and I guess going to Garinger, coming out of Hawthorne, you had made so many friends there, and had kind of gone through all the bumps and a lot of the bumps and bruises of the whole desegregation thing, that it was just kind of a natural sort of transition at that point. It wasn't like any real culture shock or anything like that, because we had pretty much experienced all of that, in 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. I mean, yes, do I want to go to West Charlotte? Sure, because that's where, you kind of grew up, family, had been there, and it's right down the street. I could, pretty much walk home if I had to. And so that was the biggest deal, was just the distance and that kind of thing. But as far as the school itself, I don't think I had a real issue with going to Garinger, because it was kind of already, kind of baked in the cake. I don't know. I was just always kind of the guy who, just wanted to get along, I mean, especially back then. I mean, again, we had gone through a whole lot of the racial stuff, but it was still very, very prevalent. So I had, a ton of white, and I was kind of the guy who was in the middle. I had folks on this side, the folks I'd grown up with in the black neighborhoods and in the community and whatnot, who sometimes were a little bit side-eyed, like, yo, dude, why you, what you doing? Hanging out with the other folk, Then the other folk were kind of interested because I was kind of the easygoing. I was able to talk to them, explain to them a lot of things that were going on that they, had no idea in terms of what it was like growing up, being black in a society that was pushing back against desegregation. And so I was just kind of that, I call it that tweener, I was kind of able to get along with everybody. The teachers really cared. And I mean, I can remember some of my teachers they were very engaged. Is funny story. My French teacher, who's Jan Hall Brown, she's still around, and to this day we still stay in contact. Mr. Asbury was our assistant principal. Richard Chancellor was the principal when I was there, and he was just great. He knew everybody's name. You know, was the first to pat you on the back. You know, also the first one to say, "Hey, y'all are getting out of line. Let's straighten up here." I never said, "Wow, I don't feel like I'm being taught well."
Tragedy struck at Memorial Stadium when player Phil Houston was paralyzed during a game against South Mecklenburg in September 1971. People across the county and country rallied for the player, who died a month later. The annual Phil Houston Awards honored the best athletes in CMS for more than 30 years, and Garinger Stadium is named for him. Some alumni call the 1970s through the mid-90s the golden age of Wildcat sports. Standouts include Dwight Clark, a San Francisco 49er known for the catch, and Tiffany Johnson, a championship player in the WNBA.
I did play with Dwight. Dwight was a year ahead of me. Dwight was a year ahead of me. Yeah, he was at the time one of the city's top 2 or 3 athletes at the time. He was our quarterback, and you could always tell that he had whatever that it factor was. I mean, he was definitely the big jock on campus. You know, he had his pick of whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. But was not. He was just one of the guys.
Garinger's historical rivals are Harding and Myers Park. By the time we got here, it had shifted totally. There were some remnants of the Myers Park rivalry, but it was really Independence was it, and they were so good too. And we wanted to beat the state champs as many times as we could.
Yeah.
I remember standing in the outfield at Independence as a junior, a night game in Independence, and I ran on the field, and I'm starting in center field, and I'm crying because my dream had come true. And a lot of guys felt the same way.
Yeah. But back then, we were like,
It'd be unthinkable that a school like Charlotte Catholic or Charlotte Christian could even step on the same field with us, especially in baseball.
Right.
Unthinkable that they could beat us.
Right. And that's how we thought, not so much everybody else.
And they knew it too.
Right.
Myers Park, West Charlotte, Independence, those were battles. And everybody just wanted to beat us. And then we all grew up and sometimes playing with each other. So when we went to school, I got to get you now. Yeah, but it was fun. I wouldn't trade for the world.
The last big 3, baseball, basketball, football, state champion team was the '89 team. He's the greatest basketball player in the history of the school.
I don't know if I told you that. I'll say I'm maybe one of the best basketball players that came here. It's been a lot of time to come through here. I had an uncle that played here. He was a great basketball player. It's the basketball history here is a lot bigger than people realize. You couldn't come in this gym on any night because you was gonna just get an easy win. Not here. Tuesday night, it don't matter. If you didn't get here at halftime of the girls' game, you wasn't gonna get in. One of the greatest teams I've ever been a part of. We worked hard. We used to practice at 6 o'clock in the morning before classes. The year we won the state championship. So we'll get in at 6, practice. Coach Pricer, his wife would bring us little apple crumb cakes. I'll never forget those, and orange juice. And we get a snack and go to class. Nobody ever knew that.
We were the target in terms of the best team when it came to track at that time. And in my junior year, ran indoor track, outdoor track, and football, and then also did all those same sports going into my senior year. Excelled in those sports. I have a twin brother as well. My twin brother, Dave, He won the state in the 100 meters, 200 meters, and also the 400 meters. He also had some of the top times in the country at that time. Mm-hmm. So and I was that guy in terms of indoor track. I had some of the fastest times in the country. You wanted to be here every day. We had, like I said, we had some of the best teachers. The classrooms were very engaging. We had students who saw themselves beyond high school, whether it be a trade or whether it be at Carolina or whether it be at North Carolina State University, some of the HBCUs. Kids were always striving for more.
I remember the RTC program coming over to Hawthorne. They were great. I couldn't wait to get to Garinger and join the RTC program. And Colonel Campbell was my teacher, Sergeant Lopez, Sergeant Dobie, great guys. And I spent my 3 years in RTC. My senior year, I was the highest ranking female. I was a drill team commander. I was military queen that year. And I went on to college. And I wrote in RTC in college. But I wasn't going to college. I had planned on going to the Army. But what happened, I also ran track at Garinger, and I was a state champion. Went to the state 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. I was state champion in 12th grade and decided, instead of going to the Army, I'm going to college. But I started getting a lot of recruiters looking for me to go to college. Just hearing great positive affirmation all the time, telling me how great you could be. You're a Wildcat. And the pride was there. I mean, the guys with one side blue, one side white. We had mascots, the big Wildcat, Willie the Wildcat. It was just a different atmosphere.
Football setting was pretty new when I got here in '83. I think it only been here maybe 1 or 2 years. We had a homecoming parade, and we would decorate. Guys would bring in their trucks from home. We would decorate those. They would pull trailers.
We weren't officially male cheerleaders, but we were sort of just wanting to get the crowd enthusiastic. And then we brought that home with us. We jumped over the fences.
So for basketball season, we got in trouble at the North Met game at home. And our principal said we were inciting a riot with the other fans.
We were cheering too.
And so
much.
You were cheering too much,
yeah.
Right? And so we had too much school spirit. Yeah. So the principal told us we couldn't do it.
Told us two plus 4 or 5 of our friends.
Yeah. And so there was this guy back in the 80s called the Unknown Comic, and he would wear a bag on his head and do comedy shows at comedy clubs. So we all met at our house, about 40 guys, and we all put on decorated paper bags with the Unknown fan, and we walked into the gym.
Things like I Plead the Fifth on it.
Yeah, and we walked into the gym and sat quietly for the first 3 quarters, and then the beginning of the 4th quarter, tore off the bags, went crazy. We even had a Santa Claus. It was crazy.
I remember having a basketball goal that the kids would play basketball at lunch. There's a smoking area. It was an area the kids could, right with the 700 building, that was the only area the kids were allowed to smoke. Believe it or not, the kids would come to school with, if you're going to go hunting, there would be a rifle on your car. You could tie it down. And you could park your car to the parking lot, and you leave school, you get in your car, you just go hunt.
The end of the 80s came with community concerns about teen drug use and violence on and off high school campuses, including shootings near high school football games. Garinger developed a negative reputation that it couldn't shake.
We had violence here. I mean, it was, we had a couple of unfortunate situations that happened, when I was here.
Garinger has gotten a bad rap a lot of times because of stuff that has happened on campus or near campus that has nothing to do with the high school itself or nothing to do with the kids there. If a fight, stuff has happened like at a football game or a basketball game, and come to find out the participants were not from Garinger. I mean, did not go to school there. They just happened to go to the game. They start a ruckus. But of course, the headline in the newspaper or the headline, fight breaks out at Garinger High School. Nobody reads. That's all they see. That's all they need to see. That creates a stain on the school.
They would be standing in front of the Garinger sign, making a statement that this is what happened. It was the neighborhood.
Off Eastway Drive, close to Garinger High School, a block from Garinger High School, just to get, they're giving people a reference point. But there's no details like, but it didn't happen at Garinger. It happened 5 blocks away, but they used Garinger as the hot spot, just so they can give people an idea of where this is. Has nothing to do with it, but the damage has now been done.
But looking from the outside in, that's what you would think. But once you got here, it was totally different. I mean, every school gonna have their issues, but for the most part, it was just fun. We would go into class with a lot of skipping, hanging out, catching each other in the hallways, just having a good time.
In 1992, new Superintendent John Murphy created a system of goals and measures for academic achievement and a network of magnet schools with racial quotas as an alternative to busing to maintain desegregation. Garinger became a partial magnet, adding finance, medical science, and communication academies to its offerings of vocational and advanced classes. But resources were going to open new schools to accommodate Charlotte's explosive growth in the suburbs.
I think because the neighborhood began to change, then people didn't want their kids to go there or didn't feel like, but there were a lot of parents that had older children come through that wanted their kids to come through and wanted that Garinger alma mater.
As newer families came in that didn't look like us, non-white families, there was more like, okay, well, are we going to move to South Charlotte? They started looking to where they were going to go, so that where their kids were going to go to school and getting out of this neighborhood because it was going down. And I just remember my parents always being like, no, this is our neighborhood and these are our neighbors and these are our schools. And they fought a lot for our schools to have what other schools had in other parts of town. They said, we're not going to leave this area to go somewhere else where they have things. We need to make sure that our kids here have that too. So we had the medical academy, and then there was something about not having animals to dissect. I mean, other schools had frogs and they had whatever other things you dissect in science, and we didn't have that, or anything, beakers even, those supplies that we just did not have. We had our books, our used, torn up, textbooks. We had the magnet programs, we had AP classes, and we also had in the back of the school, we every semester we built a habitat house. So there were kids out there in construction class learning those kind of trades. We had auto mechanics. And so I feel like we had more of a diversity of opportunities too here on campus to get plugged in and find a reason to want to be here.
But I was took more of the vocational pathway in school. So when I was here, we had a whole industrial art shop class. We had a drafting class, which I took that my sophomore and junior year. So we drew plans and everything, and I remember both our teachers, and so I learned a lot from them. And then my senior, I elected to take classes at Central Piedmont, so I went down there and see they kind of had the dual enrollment thing going in. We didn't really then. It was more of a vocational type classes set up. Graduated here in '92, and then after that, I went right into the military for the most part.
As new schools continued to open, officials looked for ways to help older ones like Garinger that were increasingly aging, poor, and racially unbalanced. But another lawsuit, Capacione versus Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, ended the desegregation mandate. The new family choice plan that followed meant East Charlotte students could stay at Garinger or apply to Butler, East Mecklenburg, Independence, or another magnet program.
It's the chicken and the egg, though. You need those students to help turn the thing around, but they don't want to send their kids someplace to help turn it around. The end of desegregation was the worst thing that happened. Forced to say, I know, you don't want to be told what to do. I get it. But to me, part of the societal issues that we're facing right now is because we have no longer given more opportunity at a young age for kids to understand each other.
And as time went on, I don't think that Garinger got what they should have gotten as far as maybe the assignment plan.
I mean, I think just in general, felt like people looked down on us because we were Garinger, and this was the bad school, and you had all kind of nicknames in the community. Racism, just that this was a bad part of town, that it was violent, that people were just beating each other up and shooting people here every day, and so we felt like it was us against the world, kind of, I think, too. So we had something to prove, and that kind of bonded us together too, and we wanted to show people, like, we're not who you think, whatever you think about us over here. We have purpose. We're smart. We can do what any other kid in the city can do. And we're going to go out and prove it to you. But I always really felt like there was a good core group of teachers that, like, they were here to make sure that we over here on the east side kind of got what we deserved too. So John Muir, and so had him in 9th grade and made sure that I was in his class throughout. And then once we were done with our, required history credits, he had started to offer a AP European history. And so convinced all of us to take it just because we loved him and wanted to be with him. So he was a World War II buff and, like, older white man that he was just so passionate about history. He drew you all the way in and you just wanted to be in his class. Mr. McClure, and he was very much like, you guys have power, instilling in us that we had a voice, like we could do something, we could make some kind of change. So I always think fondly back at him too, because he was like, no nonsense, tell it how it is, fight the power.
Garinger continued to recognize its history while looking to the future. Though the original entrance had been replaced with a grand atrium, school historian Charles Dickerson helped get the original buildings designated as a Charlotte-Mecklenburg Historic Landmark. Dickerson, a former teacher and administrator, brought back the Garinger Hall of Fame and helped secure a grant in which students created an archive dating back to 1909. Meanwhile, state and federal accountability programs placed even more importance on high-stakes testing than during John Murphy's time. Garinger's scores were among the lowest in the district. Under the threat of closure by a Superior Court judge, Garinger split into 5 schools starting in 2006. New technology, international studies, math and science, leadership and public service, and business and finance occupied 5 distinct areas of campus and had their own yearbooks, mascots, and staff.
Well, we had 5 principals, we had 5 mascots, we had the sports. I didn't really like it because it was like the kids didn't really get to know each other. We were almost like housed in buildings. You can't walk around the whole school. Lunches was different. Everything was just different. It wasn't like a school to me.
Though the new Technology Academy made strong academic gains, Garinger became one school again in the fall of 2011. By the turn of the century, East Charlotte had become an international hub, attracting immigrants and refugees from all over the world and bringing global diversity to Garinger.
I started school in, 87, 88. A lot of immigrants were moving into East Charlotte. And so more and more every year, you had kids coming from all over the world. And I thought that was exciting and amazing. You got to meet people and learn about different cultures. And I felt it was celebrated. So that part, I think I couldn't have gotten anywhere else, even if they had better academic scores or, were an A school or whatever, classification you want to give it.
I think I got a good formal education because, like I said, we had really good and experienced, skilled teachers. But I also got the best cultural experience. I was going to school with Black kids, Hispanic kids. We're not a monolith, right? So there are Mexicans, Honduran, Guatemalan, Salvadoran. and Nepali kids were a huge population here at the time, Vietnamese kids. So I was always curious about cultures, history, things like that. So I always thought that was, even as a kid, I always thought that was a really unique experience. So a lot of people like to say, you know, Charlotte has no identity, has no culture. Come to East Charlotte. Come to where Garinger is. Come see our communities. There's plenty of culture here. It's just not what you might think.
Though the Rambler and the radio station were lost to the Small Schools Initiative, Snips and Cuts returned, and the band, the award-winning JROTC program, and the athletic department remained. The men's soccer team, with players representing 7 countries, ranked 7th in the state.
East Charlotte is the soccer side of the city, you know. Everywhere you go, there's people playing pickup. Anywhere you find a patch of grass, there's people playing pickup. So it was the soccer team was like the jewel of the school, you know, and it hurt, you know, because a lot of the times I'd go to the games, there'd be nobody there, you know. They were so good, but you know, they didn't always get that backing, you know, I feel, from the school and the community around it.
The 2010s also saw the revival of the horticultural program and renovation of the greenhouse. History teacher James Ford was named North Carolina Teacher of the Year in 2014.
I just think that whole crop of teachers were really, really skilled teachers, first of all. They were just really good educators, but on top of that, they were just really human. Really good people. Matt Baker, who's one of the best teachers I ever had. I still keep in touch with him today. Colleen Grossi, she was one of the only teachers. I was not a great math student, and she was one of the teachers who really pushed me and, you know, put me out of my comfort zone and really believed that I can complete the work. Kimmy Talley, she's still here. She's funny now. She's my coworker. Nicole Lip, another great civics teacher. Greg Asciuto. He's always involved in the community. I didn't have him as a student, but my friends did, and Miss Stanley. I got a great education from Miss Stanley. I really appreciate it a lot.
Members of the Garinger class of 1963 marked its 50th reunion with a scholarship fund to benefit current Wildcats. From there, alumni spanning several years created the Garinger Education Foundation, establishing a campus monument to Garinger students who died in the Vietnam War. Scholarships were awarded in the memory of each fallen soldier.
It's the only memorial in the whole United States of its kind. Down at 2, you can buy bricks with your name on it. The lady at Wildcats bought me one and had it put down for me.
They saw that there was a need, and the common thread was they all went to Garinger, just like these kids today go to Garinger. That was the thing, you know, Wildcats helping Wildcats. The only tie that they had was the fact that they walked those same halls, cheered for the same football team, played in the band, just like the kids today.
I tell people, yeah, there's Garinger Wildcats everywhere.
Yeah. I'm proud to be a Hall of Fame inductee. Class of 2000. When you look at the roll, we've got Charles Kuralt, Dwight Clark. They're judges and politicians and teachers and artists and all, you know, the whole spectrum of folks. Which I guess I'm just happy to say that I'm proud to be a part of some really good folks who've come out again. That's just, you know, folks who've been recognized as a Hall of Fame. But obviously, there are many people who have come out and done very well and represent our school very well.
Brain surgeons, doctors, lawyers, and I don't think our kids are seeing those people, those adults, and realize, hey, they went to Garrison. They was in the same spot that I'm in. I can be who this person is because they grew up just like I did.
Mario and Hanson, basketball state champion, Adair track state champion, Maxwell. We all were we were winners here. We all were winners here. And we believe in the kids, we believe in the school, we believe in the community. We know what Garinger can be or has been.
Just, you know, I look back and, you know, and I see a lot of the kids that do the same things and try to get away with the same things that I used to get away with and do. And it's just funny, kind of nostalgic looking back on that. And just like looking back then, I had it made. It was fun. We had a lot of fun.
going here as a student, I was just like, hey, this is a beautiful campus, and it's still a beautiful campus. I say that every day I come onto this campus. This is a really beautiful campus. This is home for me. This is my family.
It was Wildcats more so than Central. And the Garinger thing was, give me a G, give me an A, give me an R. That was just like, that's going to be so hard, to do. But then, of course, we went back to Wildcats.
Well, they do when they get out to on the field, too. They say, give me a G, give me a G, give me an A, give me an A. They go all the way through Garinger and do that. But that was one of the things they did. I'm a Wildcat, couldn't be prouder. If you can't hear it, I'll say it a little louder.
Oh, when the Garinger Wildcats fall in line, we're gonna win this game, we're gonna shine. We're gonna fight, fight, fight for every yard. We're gonna circle in and hit that line right hard. And I don't remember anymore. But that was our fight song when we were winning.
What did y'all say? We were like G Dogs. I feel like we said G Dogs, we're Wildcats. The G Dogs. And I think, and maybe just because now it's like so big G code, I think that we did G code too. I think we were kind of the early G coders. Like, I think we may have started that. G code,
G code, far above the toil and tumult of our city's growing might, proudly stands our alma mater, shining brightly in the night, crowned with wisdom, knowledge, power. Boldly let our praises ring. Hail to thee, our alma mater. Hail to great Garinger, hearts we sing.
Why did you put the finger up?
We're number one. We're number one.